What's up, VC? What's up, vinyl community? It's Dan hanging out with you for Dan's Vinyl Channel. How are you guys doing? Hopefully you're having a great end of your weekend. Let's turn this down a little bit. What I wanted to do was, I wanted to do this contest entry for a minute. As you can see, this is David Newton's Decades Contest entry. It's a decade challenge. It's really easy to do. It's a real easy contest to do, and you still have time. You have till midnight tonight. So if you're not familiar with David's channel, please click below, because Dave's got a great channel. He's a great guitar player. He's a great singer. He's a great guy. He's into horror films. He's into all kinds of music, and he's got a great vinyl collection. So make sure you check out David Newton's channel. Okay, I'll link to the contest video below. So hopefully you guys are having like I said, a great, splendid weekend. We've got kind of a rainy, gray, miserable, normal kind of February crap weather. Hopefully you guys' week has been a pretty good one. I've been so busy, it's been unreal, but I'm glad to finally have a few minutes here to do David's contest. So without any further ado, rules of the contest very simple. Just grab an album from the 70s, 80s, 90s, 2010s, 2000s, and the 2010s. That's simple. So just cover all the decades. It says you could use as many albums as you want. I'm going to use 2 from each decade. So with no further ado, let's get into the 70s. All right. So this first album that I'm going to show you is a band that I really had flown under my radar the entirety of the time that I've been listening to music. And the band is Roxy Music. This is their album. It's called Siren, and it came out the year I was born, 1975. And it's Brian Eno was in this band. He was not in this current incarnation of Roxy Music, which is run by this guy right here in the center, Brian Ferry. I was completely unaware of this band, and I was in the store, and one of my favorite record stores in the Groove in Jeff City. One of the guys there, Jamie, he's like, "Hey Dan, have you heard of Roxy Music before?" I said, I've heard of them, but I never really listened to them before. And he says, "I think you would like this album." So I took a chance on it, never heard it before, brought it home, and immediately fell in love. However, a lot of albums seem to be front-loaded. You guys know what I mean? Like, they put all the great songs on the first side. The first side of this is magnificent, but where you really start getting into this record is on side B. So this album's a little bit backloaded in my opinion. Although side 1 is great, side 2, man, it's even better. It just kind of gets better as you go through it. Songs that you might know here: Love Is the Drug, She Sells, Could It Happen to Me, Both Ends Burning, Nightingale. I mean, the entire album, it's a great record. It's from 1975. We got Jerry Hall on the cover here as a siren or a mermaid, perhaps. This is, I don't know if she was married to Jagger at this point. That's kind of what I know of Jerry Hall, is that she was married to Mick Jagger. So anyway, Roxy Music, 1975. That's my first album of the 70s, and that's something that I've just been introduced to. The next one, however, is something that I was definitely introduced to, or not in the 70s. In the 70s, I think pretty much all I listened to was whatever country music my parents were listening to on the radio, in 50s Elvis, and maybe some Buddy Holly. But in the 80s, there was this show on KC95 in St. Louis. It's a radio station, and it was called Monday Night Metal. And there was a ton of metal acts on there, and also like pre-metal or bands that would be considered metal. And this band, Nazareth, had a song, and it's called Razzmatazz. And that is a very influential song from them, because it was kind of like the first heavy metal song I ever heard, and I popped this on. This is Nazareth's Hot Tracks. I picked this up for $0.25 over the summer last year, and it's gotten a lot of play, and I really enjoy this album. So that's my second from the 70s. So Nazareth and Hot Tracks there. It's a comp, but that should work, right? All right, so moving on. Let's go in here and see what we got else from. Oh, that's one that I was considering putting in for the 70s. And this is a really beat up copy of Pink Floyd's The Wall. It's a great record, and this is a nice stained, ugly cover. It's just a player copy. It works, it does the trick. All right, so moving into the 80s, very important record, and if you were to ask my mom what was one of the most influential or whatever records that drove her absolutely insane during the 80s, she would easily say Ozzy Osbourne's Blizzard of Oz. The whole I remember we went on a road trip down to Louisiana, Mississippi, and I listened to this just front to back, and Mom's auto return cassette player in her Dodge Aries K car over and over and over again. That's Ozzy Osbourne's Blizzard of Oz. Obviously one of the best albums, in my opinion, of the 80s. You can't go wrong with this one. Crazy Train, I Don't Know, Goodbye to Romance, Mr. Crowley. You've just, it's, No Bone Movies. Love that one. Every song on this record, Ozzy Osbourne, Blizzard of Oz. Found that at Euclid Records in St. Louis. Just love the label, the Jet label, back from the 80s. All right, so another album that took a lot of my 80s time would be this band, Def Leppard and Hysteria. So Hysteria is kind of that hated, loved Def Leppard record. I love it from the first time I saw the video for Women off of this album. Completely fell in love with Def Leppard and love this band, man. So Hysteria, my second pick of the 80s. Some of my favorite stuff from the 80s. As we move into the 90s, things were going, things were starting to ramp up, and this, I believe, is from 1991. I hope it's from the 90s. This actually might not be. So I hate doing like real-time kind of research. Like I should have had my stuff planned, but I just kind of fly out there sometimes. So before I show this, I want to make sure that I am getting these I would hate to show you something from the 90s that isn't from the 90s. So let me see here. And this is just this is not giving me the date of this album. And so it's happening in real time, folks. We don't, 1991, May 14th, 1991. We don't do any editing here. Not on DVC, not on Dan's Vinyl Channel. All right, so this record, Primus Sailing the Seas of Cheese. This is the latest vinyl edition of this that was remixed. And it's a great sounding record. I've seen it get a lot of flack. I picked this up super cheap. I want to say like $11 this was on Amazon. It's just absolutely insane. I remember one time I was reading an article with Les Claypool, and he was talking about a lot of the bands that were out around the time of Sailing the Seas of Cheese. It was like, Warrant and all these hair bands and stuff. So he said they were just like sailing the seas of cheese. So that's where he got this. It's a great record, man. American Life, Is It Luck, Sergeant Baker, Here Come the Bastards. Just so many songs, and this entire album is just, it's non-stop. It's a tour de force. I hate to use words like that, but that's what it is. I mean, it's an amazing record. We were, exposed to Primus, I don't know, I want to say it was 1992, 1993. A friend of ours got this, and we listened to this all the way to see Gwar. 2-hour drive. We drove to St. Louis to go check out Gwar at a place called Mississippi Nights. We listened to this album nonstop the entire way. And I don't know, every time I listen to that album, I'm taken back to that night where we saw Gwar. This album I showed last year after RSD, and this was just a great 90s album. This is just a great 90s rock and roll album, and I'm going to show it. It's 7 Mary 3's American Standard. Sorry about the glare there. I left the shrink wrap on this one. This was finally released on vinyl last year for RSD, and this is just this is an amazing record. It's a great rock and roll record. I don't know how much this is going for. If you didn't get this as part of RSD last year, I think, you know, a lot of these titles they get marked up and it's unfair. But it's an excellent record. It's definitely something you could stream if you're not familiar with it. But 7 Mary 3's American Standard. It's got songs like Cumbersome on it. It's also got Water's Edge is on this record. Rodrigo. Just, I could go on. This is just one of those records. It's like all killer, no filler type stuff. So there, we're done with the 90s. We're moving on to the 2000s. I thought I was going to struggle a lot more with the 2000s. But I wanted to talk about this record because what drew me to it was not the name of the guy. I knew nothing about him when I first noticed this record. I didn't even know that he had passed away. I don't know, I want to say like around 2013, 2012, but Jay Reatard, and this is the album Watch Me Fall. Now, anybody that knows me knows that I'm a huge fan of the film The Shining. Actually, just strangely, I just happen to have the cover, or the Blu-ray right here on my desk. I don't know why. This was not planned. So anyway, yeah. As if you know The Shining, this is a scene at the end. Basically, he's looking like Jack walking through the maze, looking for Danny. And this album is called Watch Me Fall by Jay Reatard. And Jay Reatard he actually grew up in the Boot Heel of Missouri and died of complications, I want to say, of cocaine. And he was 29 when he passed. I want to say he passed maybe, it might have been about 10 years ago. But regardless, you should check this album out if you're into kind of jangly lo-fi. I don't know what to call it. It's not really punk. It's not like Blood Visions, where it's kind of like more of a straightforward punk record. I wouldn't even know if Blood Visions would be considered a straightforward punk record. This is more jangle pop. With a punk edge. It's Jay Reatard's Watch Me Fall, so you might want to check that out. Ain't Gonna Save Me, Before I Was Caught, Wounded, Rotten Mind, There Is No Sun. The album, it's shall we say, it is a little bit dark, but Jay Reatard's Watch Me Fall back from 2009, this record, so that will cover one half of the 2000s. Wildly different band here than Jay Reatard. This is a band that I learned about from, I saw a film back in 2008, and it was called Once. And there was this guy, and his name is Glenn Hansard. He's part of a duo called the Swell Season. This is their second album. This is called Strict Joy. This album was released in 2009. Swell Season had their first album. It's called Swell Season. This is their follow-up, and just an absolutely amazing record. If you like Van Morrison, if you like singer-songwriter kind of stuff, this is your record. So I'm happy to talk about the Swell Season here. Came out in 2009, so this will be the second half of my 2000s. This is no longer in print anymore, so it's not that it's hard to find, but you may have a difficult time, a little more difficult time finding it now. I'm not sure. So if this is something you're interested in, check it out and stream it. It's the Swell Season. This is Marketa Irglova. She's had a couple of albums come out. And Glenn has also had quite a few albums released. And he went on tour with Eddie Vedder. We actually saw him with Eddie Vedder back in, I want to say, 2012. Eddie Vedder was doing his ukulele songs tour. That was a lot of fun. So we saw him there as well. So, yeah, the Swell Season. So that rounds out the 2000s. So between 2000 and 2010. Now we're narrowing it down from 2010 to 2020. And I'm not sure if I've ever talked about this band on the vinyl channel. But this is Ghost, and my favorite record from them currently. It kind of goes in between this and Fantastismen Infestus Sumam. And it goes between that, and then I like Meliora, and then I like, Opus Eponymous. I just go back and forth, but this is Ghost and Prequel. This is their latest record with Cardinal Copia, and I shouldn't, you know what, you guys, check out Ghost if you're at all interested. Alright, so recently I discovered that this guy is still making records, and he's making quite amazing records, actually. And the guy's name, Gary Newman. So you know Gary Newman, Pleasure Principle, Two-Way Army, Replicas, the Replicas album, Telecon, Let's Dance. This is an album that came out in, I want to say, 2018. I want to say, it might have been 2017. Anyway, this is Savage Songs from a Broken World. This is a concept album, actually. It's post-apocalyptic due to climate change and kind of an East meets West kind of thing. Now, if you guys aren't familiar with Gary Newman's newer stuff, it's very industrial, it's very dark, it's very heavy, it's very Nine Inch Nails type. But it's just dark, it's heavy, it's brooding, it's amazing. There is a song on here that you need to stream immediately. It's called My Name Is Ruin. And it's just really great stuff. And Gary Newman just still killing it. And check out some of the live performances from this as well. So anyway, so that will round out my Decades Challenge contest for David Newton. David, congratulations. You've well beyond your 200 subs now, buddy. I think last I checked, you were somewhere around 227. So if you guys aren't familiar with Dave's channel, check out his video below and sub to it. And if you want to get in on the contest, it's your chance to win $30. Amazon, PayPal, I think he said. So, either or. It's $30, man. That's a record, isn't it? Anyway, that's a few if you're a budget guy like me. So, anyway, you guys take it easy. You guys have a great weekend. Keep digging them records, all right? And we will check in with you guys hopefully sometime later this week, all right? As there's some other contests going on. I still want to do Rachel's contest, the Music Man. So I want to do her contest, and I want to get that done. So hopefully we'll get this done sometime this week. So you guys take it easy. Peace out. You guys have a great one, and we will talk to you later. See you on the flip side. Bye.